a father offered his 12-year-old daughter a certain amount of money if she would mow the lawn. And so she went out and she mowed the lawn, except for a small corner. And the father, of course, noticed the fact that she hadn't mowed a small corner of it. And so he told her, he said, I can't pay you the full sum that we had agreed upon because you did mow that small corner. She was okay with that, and didn't try to fight that. But the father was curious afterwards, and he went out to look. And when he got there, he noticed a great big toad sitting right in the middle of that patch. And then he realized that his daughter didn't want to touch the toad to pick him up and move him. And she was too tender-hearted to run through it and possibly hurt it. You know, we expect that life in our world has a certain order to it. But when love happens, it isn't always in a neat order in our world. And so we find a certain amount of what we call disorder. You know, everything were very well organized and everything was strictly in order, we're more likely to see it's like a cemetery. But we see the randomness and the disorder in how God invites the apostles and disciples to come to faith in the resurrection. Some come to faith while they walk with him on the road to Emmaus. They talk with the Lord. Others have breakfast with him, like the story we tell of in the morning. They get up and they're fishing, and Christ says, come and have breakfast. And they have the big haul of fish. And so they sit down and have breakfast, and they come to faith. And then there's still others look for the empty tomb. And then we hear the story of Thomas, who says, I need to touch those wounds. Mary Magdalene, of course, puts her faith in the Lord when the Lord says to her, Mary, just the way he says and addresses her. Her faith is strength and grows deep. All of us have our own stories, how we come to faith in the Lord. And of course, we look for those signs, and they help us grow in our faith. It might be touching wounds. It might be in the midst of the people who have a lively discussion about faith. Other times it's we hear our name called, and our faith grows. And other times we break bread, with people, and our faith is enriched. The scriptures remind us, blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. Each one of us looks for what we need, and that's important. We see there's many different ways. Then we hear in the gospel that Christ gives the people his Spirit, and his Spirit helps them grow in faith and in the awareness of the Lord's risen presence. And when we allow that faith to fill us. And that's why the bishops always like to do confirmation this time of the year, right after Easter, when we're so conscious of that gift of the Spirit. And I understand it's coming Thursday. The young people will be celebrating confirmation with the bishop. It's a wonderful time to remember again. The Lord has gifted us with his Spirit and continues to give to people. Then in the readings from the Acts of the Apostles, we hear how the apostles and disciples, they devoted themselves to sharing things in common. And if somebody didn't have anything, they shared with them, especially those in need. It tells how, also how they broke bread together and how they shared in prayer. There's a story they tell of a golfer who had won the tournament. So, of course, he was given a nice check for that. And when he's leaving the clubhouse to go to his car, a young woman comes up to him and tells it tells about her little boy who was dying of a disease. And the golfer, of course, hearing the story, took his check, turned it over, endorsed it, and gave it to her for the help of this young lad. And again, it's one of those wonderful stories of the Spirit of the risen Lord is present, making a difference in the lives of people. God's Spirit desires for us, to be filled with life and His goodness. So that's what we hear in the gospel when He talks about, forgiveness, and bringing peace. Those are wonderful gifts, and we know that the peace that comes when we're forgiven. And so we hear that story, how Christ gives that gift to us as a church, that we forgive in His name. You might say the priest does all that. Now, I always do the forgiveness in your name, in the name of the church, the risen body of Christ. So it is the people constantly forgiving, and we do that on an individual basis, but also as a community. So it's a wonderful gesture of the Lord's risen presence among us. We're so conscious at this time of how the Lord gives us great gifts, and we in turn share those gifts. And we bring, of course, greater faith to ourselves, but also to the people around us. The faith of our God lives in us.